Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out on this somewhat chilly evening. Um, The first thing is, I need to point out the exits. That door goes directly outside. That's the way you come in, through the lobby. And then this can go through my office and get out to the hall. That is not an exit. So first on our agenda tonight is a presentation by our town historian, Tom Williams. Oops, better wait for Jen to run your, there she is. Is that microphone on?
Yeah, okay. Good evening, everybody. When I first moved here with my wife in 1993, one of the things we kept hearing about Malta was that the people of Malta didn't want to become like Clifton Park. and there was always this question about how much development should there be in Malta. And then I realized that, there was sort of this fuzzy idea of, well, the newspapers would keep saying, well, Malta's this fast-growing town on the Northway, and they would give a population estimate, and I think, well, nobody's really given a certain population for the town. And then I decided, well, it'd be interesting, for historical purposes, to look back in the past and just take a look at how the town population has changed. And I threw in Clifton Park and the county as a whole for comparison. And as you know, Clifton Park is right on the Old Erie Canal. And I thought that would be interesting just to see how that changed in relation to us and also the larger county environment as a whole. And I wanted to find, we can speculate on how fast has Malta grown over the years and what's caused this growth and how fast is it growing now. And we can start with the first slide. I hope you can see these numbers may not be real clear. Maybe I better go this way. Yeah.
Whoop, I saw it.
Oh, okay. I got to keep my thumb on it. We've got three groups of censuses. The first group is from 1800 up to 1860. And you'll notice that there's nothing for either Malta or Clifton Park in the 1800 census because they weren't organized as towns yet. By 1810, Malta was organized as a town in 1802. And then Clifton Park didn't come around as an incorporated or organized town until 1828. So they first appear in the 1830 census. And in the 1810 census, Malta had 1,438 people. Now the county, Malta is this little green bar down here. And here's the county, this big red bar. And the county already had 33,000 and change, okay? And as we move up through the years, we notice one kind of glaring thing that stood out for me is that Malta's population barely changed from the 1810 census all the way up to the 1860 census. You see here, and if anything, it went down, 1,438 in 1810, and it bumped up and down a little bit, and by 1860 it was 1,240. And Clifton Park grew a little bit over that period, but not too much. The county, meanwhile, was growing a lot. And let's try the next slide. Okay, now we were at the 1860, we ended at the 1860 census, and we get over here to 1870. Now, it's maybe a little hard to notice here, but one thing I noticed is that between 1860 and 1870, we had something called the Civil War, and both, let's see, Malta actually shrank from 1438 in 1850 to 1,212 in 1870. So people went off to war, people were killed in battle. That could be part of it. And then Clifton Park, let's see here. So what I'm thinking here is that Clifton Park was near the Erie Canal, so it makes sense that it would grow a little bit, at least from the canal traffic. Interestingly enough, probably not a lot, they always say that the people who traveled on the canal were heading west, and probably not a lot of people hung around Malta or Clifton Park. They wanted to go west, young man. And if you look at the canal cities of Utica, Syracuse, Rochester, and Buffalo, you'll see that they became boom towns in the period when the canal was first opened, between, say, 1825 and 1850 or so. And they were America's first boom towns before the silver mining towns of the Rocky Mountains or the West. Now, so in this period, 1870 to 1940, the populations of Malta and Clifton Park, see they're down here, they remain pretty static. And all three groups, Malta, Clifton Park, and the county, dropped off slightly in the interval of World War I, 1910 to 1920. So again, a war could have affected that slight drop off. But after World War I, everybody started growing again. But the amazing thing is that if you look at, say, the 1930 figure for Malta, 1,277, it's not much different than what it was in 1810. And the answer is, of course, that as far as I can tell, is that Malta just continued to be a farm town from more than a century and a half. And now we can go to the next slide, I think. Last slide. This takes us from 1950 up to the present, last census, 2020. Now, this is where things get interesting. By 1950, both Malta and Clifton Park are starting to grow above their 19th century levels. In other words, and of course the reason is the baby boom. People are building new houses in the suburbs and exurbs after World War II. And interestingly here, if you look, from 1950 right all the way up through nearly the present day, the populations of both Malta and Clifton Park are growing. Clifton Park growing faster than Malta, By 2020, our last census, Clifton Park had 38,029 people compared to Malta's 17,130. So Clifton Park grew a little faster. Now, as you probably all know, the reasons, the big reason for all of this is the construction of the Northway in the 1960s. And meanwhile, the whole county was growing quite a bit. And if you compare these figures, Malta grew by 15,000 people, over 15,000 people after 1940. So remember, we had, what was it, 14 or 1,700 in 1940, and all the way up to 17,000. Clifton Park grew by about 35,000 from not very many. I mean, they had a little under 3,000 back in 1940, and up here in 2020, they've got 38,000. And again, the obvious answer there is that Clifton Park is closer to the cities of Albany and Schenectady, and it's become basically a suburb and has brought in a lot of subdivision, a lot of new housing, shopping malls, etc. And the county just continues to grow like this, up to where it's about 235,000 today. Now you ask, can everybody hear me okay? You may well ask, what's going to happen in the future? Well, we have an outfit called the Capital District Regional Planning Commission, and it's their job to analyze all these trends, figures. And in the year 2016, they gave a projection from Malta that said that by 2020, we would have 16,146. In fact, we'd have about 1,000 more than that by 2020. But at the same time, they also estimated how, if you carried it forward 2020, 2030, 2040, how that would change. And their estimate is that there would not be that much of a change from 2020 to up to 2050. Now, I think their estimates, these are projections, and their estimates are a little low. But you can safely say that by 2050, population of Malta would be 18 or 19,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. Why wouldn't it grow faster than that? Well, the reason is, at least from my estimate, people are not having as many babies, and households are smaller. And whereas in the 19th century, it wasn't unusual for a family to have 6, 8, or 10 kids, maybe more. These days, it's, 1, 2, or 3 kids, maybe. And of course, in the 19th century, people had a lot of kids because disease took a lot of young children at a very early age. People had extra children as insurance to keep their genes moving forward. And today, with modern health methods, parents can safely assume that, having a couple of kids means they'll have a couple of kids who will graduate into adulthood. So there you have it. This is Now, one thing I didn't get for you tonight, I wanted to get for you was some data on the number of farms and the amount of open space. I'm still working on that, trying to get some data from several agencies.
Well, thanks,
Hold
Tom.
on a second. Got this here. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, assuming it doesn't disappear, has said that in 2017, Saratoga County had 591 farms, and they comprised 71,000 acres and change, and the average number of acres per farm is about 121. My guess is that the number of farms and will probably slack off as property around the county is developed, and that will pose a challenge for towns like Malta or other towns in the county who have to plan how their development will proceed. So I thought this is kind of the end of my presentation. I just thought that this would be interesting to show you how, what the amazing thing for me was that throughout the 19th and first half of the 20th centuries, Malta's population barely changed. It barely moved off the schneid. And all I can think of is that, you know, this had been traditionally been a farm town. Development was starting to happen south of Malta and also up in Saratoga and some of the other communities in Saratoga County. And why didn't Malta's go up or Clifton Parks go up as much as the counties went up? The thing is that you have in the entire county, you have some population centers: Saratoga Springs, Ballston Spa, Waterford, Stillwater, Schuylerville, Mechanicville. Those tended to attract more people, whereas these big open spaces that we know of here, we're still in the farming business. And
Thanks, Tom. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to
that does.
report on
I'm sorry, I
agriculture.
didn't mean to run on here, but
No, you did a good job. We appreciate it.
okay.
So thank you. So the next item on our agenda is at our business meeting every month, we honor a resident of the month. And this month's resident of the month is Kathy Eitzman. So come on up. I think Tom took my Kathy Eitzman notes.
You don't have much to say about me.
You can't do that to the supervisor. Did I?
I think so. They were sitting
I
right
don't-
here.
I don't think so. I don't see them here.
Anyway, I'm Kathy Eitzman. And we had a really
You must
great
have 'em
meeting
there,
today.
Tom.
We had a great meeting today. We had he works for the EMS, I believe, in Melton, and he did a prevention of fall, and he was fantastic. And if you find out, if you give seniors a paper to fill out and promise them a little goodie bag, they will fill out the papers. Just saying.
Kathy, won't you explain each picture?
Oh, okay. This is at the Powers Club. It's the Irish Festival. Last time, this is Joanne Bosley, my treasurer, and the assistant treasurer, Phyllis Mullaney. We went to Van Gogh, and that was our group from there. It was a fantastic group. This is our bus trips, and we have a fantastic driver right there in the middle. That's George. We do line dancing with Kevin Richards. That's something we've started in the last 2 years, and he is fantastic. We don't make a lot of money on it, but do we ever have a lot of fun? This is me when I was working for the Board of Elections and voting. That's my husband. He's awesome. He's also my IT guy and all of that. And this is me when I work at the track. So all these pins on there are from owners and trainers. I tell them if you don't pin it, you won't win it. So it works.
All right, come on up, Kathy. We got to back up here. Things to note about Kathy Eitzman.
You got your notes?
I'm pretty sure you have them there someplace. First of all, Kathy has been married to Murray Eitzman for 50 years. They were both born and raised in Nebraska. I knew you were from Nebraska, but I didn't know Murray was also. They've lived in Malta, and they have raised their family here in Malta. So Kathy's been the president of the Malta Seniors since 2014, and she's still president today. In 2014, the Malta Seniors had 92 members. They now have 330 members. The all-volunteer board of officers and directors works hard to enhance and improve the lives of seniors. Kathy believes that the professional informational speakers, good fellowship, and welcoming attitude of members at the meetings has been a great contributor to our growth. And it really has. It's a lively group of people. The speakers are interesting. Everybody's happy. They provide opportunities for seniors to exercise, quarterly luncheons, cards, games, bingo, book club, lunch get-togethers, local restaurants, and great trips. The Malta Seniors also continued to provide support for residents during the pandemic. We arranged meals from local restaurants and handed them out in the parking lot to members at a nominal cost. I think we charged $5.
Right.
Just
And we paid full fee to the
we
restaurant,
paid,
just
right.
so you know.
So but not only did we support the restaurants by paying their fare for the, and I think there were 100 meals or more.
Yeah,
That
it
we
was.
bought from
Been there
local
for a
restaurants. Yeah.
You sometimes question the process, but it worked.
Well, always. It was always like everybody was like, she doesn't know what she's doing. And I kept saying, we do it the way Kathy says, because somehow it always works out. Even though sometimes it seemed pretty squirrely, but it always worked out.
That's why I've been married for 50 years. Just saying.
She also was instrumental in helping seniors get vaccines when the vaccines first came out. A lot of seniors were afraid to leave, and she got at-home vaccines for some people and arranged appointments so that they could get vaccinated. The group has grown organically with nice people telling nice people about us, and it's really one of the finest groups in Saratoga County. So that's the seniors, but she also is the president of the advisory board for Saratoga County Office of the Aging and Youth. She volunteers by driving a medical van for appointments and serve meals at a congregate site. She's the chairperson of the Town of Malta Historic Preservation Review Commission and has been so for many years.
Wow.
She's been on the Malta Youth Commission and the Community Day Committee, possibly for longer than some people have been alive in this room. She's an election inspector for Saratoga County Board of Elections. She's been doing that for 20 years. She also has served the town of Malta as deputy town clerk, finance department for Shenendahowa School District, and she worked for the motor vehicle clerk for Saratoga County DMV. So
I'm exhausted. I mean,
she should always be exhausted. She's very busy. So on behalf of the town of Malta,
Thank
congratulations.
you so much, Cynthia. Thank you.
So we're going to go up and have a picture with the entire town board.
First off, I just have to quickly thank my posse here. Thank you so much for coming. It really means a lot to me. And they asked if I was going to get a key or a ring. And so I'm going to get one of those ring pops and then people can kiss it. No, thank you so much. And thank you for the town for supporting me. Us.
Are you getting in the picture, John?
Thanks, So one more quick thing. I thought I could resign last year. I thought, I've been here 10 years, and so, I'm going to just kind of like make a quick exit and somebody else can do this. And then I found out my contract was 1 more year. So I'm president this year, and I don't know. My board and the members have been so good, they're making it kind of easy. So now I'm in trouble. So, but thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kathy, for everything. All right, next on the agenda are comments from town residents. Oh, salute to the flag, I'm sorry. Oops, how did I forget that? And then stay standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everybody. Now, comments from town residents. Geez, I can't read my own agenda.
That will be adjourned for today, right, Cindy?
Maybe it's time.
Let's just call it quits.
Okay. I'll accept a motion to accept the town clerk minutes
So move.
for our 2024 meeting. Any discussion? All in favor?
That it gets used a lot, just in general kind of thing, more and more these days, especially in addition to the disc golf course itself. But I just asked that maybe I could be my my contribution to the town into the park, into the usage of the park by adding disc golf to be taken into account as to how much I'd be charged for running a tournament there. That's all.
I got a question. What would be the flat rate for a participant if it wasn't hourly? For a person to play in the tournament, do they got to pay?
Yes, they have to pay.
Okay, what would that price be?
Depending on the division use, it ranges anywhere from probably $60 per person to $35. I think is the lowest price. Changes according.
And
to
what is that difference from the hourly rate? How much is it charged for an hourly rate for the use?
But we're proposing $45 an hour for the rental, which is,
So $45 an hour compared to $60 for the day? Is that what we're talking about?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. Just trying to get it straight.
All right, I'm just trying to relate how you're what you're trying to get through.
How much money do you anticipate bringing in during this tournament?
Myself, all the money for the entry fees goes back out to payouts in some form or fashion, whether it be professionals get paid in cash or amateurs that get paid in merchandise. So that's the goal of it's been the goal of me running tournaments since this first tournament that I ran, is all that money that they pay into the tournament goes back out in value to them. I do not make any money. I do not ask for any money. None of that. It's not the way I've ever run it. I run tournaments for the people, for the players. Always
No, it's a good thing. I support what you're doing. I think the question is, this is, town property and other people have to pay to use a pavilion, things like that. And if you're gonna be generating money using town property, that the town should then also receive some of that money through fees.
All right.
To use that.
Understandable. All right.
How long does the average round take for an individual?
2.5 to 3 hours. If it's gonna be, I'm running a shotgun start event. My normal events do sell out, so that'll be a foursome on every hole. 72 players would take 2.5 to 3 hours per round. We have a lunch break between, and then run another round afterwards.
Well, they always say you got to pay to play, and I'm all in favor of this tournament. I think it should be one of the biggest tournaments we have every year at Chenantaha, besides the, the annual picnic in what, September, is it? I'm all for it. I'd like to see someone hold a trophy in the paper.
That's good.
Matt, you got a team together?
You're on my team, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll be in the woods a
I-
lot.
I've seen some of these people
bad.
play. You guys don't want to play with these guys.
I'll bring my bug spray.
Kind of like me on the golf course.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, hang on a minute. Who designed this course at our park?
I designed the park.
Free, right?
Yes. Didn't-
Who installed it?
Mostly volunteers. I would say, aside from the town putting the town put the baskets in, assembled and put the baskets in for me, and dug the holes for those actually. The town also helped me financially with T-pad materials and such. But aside from that, the players basically showed up on my asking to put those T-pads in, and it took me about year and a half.
Many users average throughout the summer.
UDisc uses they score using an app called UDisc, and the app last year brought in 7,400 scores basically, with about 1,000 unique users, basically 1,000 unique players, and they estimate that that's only 25% of the people that actually come and play. So only 25% of the people use this app to score with. The rest of the people show up and play a casual round, either by using a piece of paper to keep a score on, or keeping score in their head, or just playing for a casual round for fun kind of thing. So with 6,000 or 7,000, what do you call it? 7,000 rounds being played. That equates to 25,000, 30,000 people or rounds, visits to your park basically a year, over the course of the year.
Well, I thank you for taking advantage of that. A public park, installing it, and maintaining it, and.
Well, thank you. What I was here for.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Any other comments from the public? With that, we'll move up. You guys got to get up faster. I'm trying to move this thing along.
Good evening Supervisor Young, members of the town board. My name is Chris Lemire. I'm a 20-year small business owner here in the town. My property is located at 2534 Route 9, just next door. I'm here tonight to respectfully request the town board reconsider the proposed townwide moratorium on the land development. I attended the February 12th public workshop, and I took away from that meeting that the reason for the moratorium appears to be concerns about increased apartments and multifamily residence in planned development districts. Respectfully, my half-plus acre of lot can't be either. Yet the moratorium puts my right to use my property in jeopardy. The moratorium bars my ability to expand my building, to request an area variance for setbacks, let's say. It affects the marketability of my property. The buyer comes along and loves my location, loves my lot, but wants to expand the building footprint a little bit. They can't do that while the moratorium is in place. I lose the sale of my property.
Is your property up for sale right now?
No.
Okay.
As I said, I'm not an apartment building and I'm not a PPD, but I'm also not a single or two-family residence. So as I understand the proposed moratorium, I'm not excluded. from coverage, even though my half-acre property can't be an apartment building, it can't be a PPD. In essence, my private property rights are being infringed because my property must remain dormant while the moratorium is in place.
You could sell your property any day you want. I don't understand the line. No one's stopping you from selling your property.
I can't, if someone comes and they want a land use application
Correct.
during the period of this moratorium,
Uh-huh.
they won't be granted because my property isn't excluded from the moratorium under like a single-family residence or two-family residence. The moratorium basically places a complete halt on my ability to utilize my property in a manner consistent with the current zoning and avail myself of the lawful zoning or permitting process set forth in the state and local laws. I can't come to the town to say, hey, I'd like to expand my building a little bit. I'd like to move my property a little closer. I can't ask for a setback.
You can after 6 months.
Well, I'm going to get there. There is no grandfather or a sunset, I believe, in the proposed moratorium. I think the meeting indicated, or the folks at the meeting said it can be extended beyond 6 months. So,
Or it could be shortened.
or it could be shortened, or it could also be, the scope could be limited by the town board, which I'm not really sure what that means. Does that mean if I ask nicely that I can get not included? I don't know what that section F means. But the legislative intent seems to say that by not imposing the moratorium, the town's ability to develop in an orderly and consistent manner will be lessened. But respectfully, the town has been able to develop all these years without a moratorium in place, infringing upon private property rights. And it also says in the legislative intent that by not that by not having the moratorium, it may negatively impact the health, safety, and general welfare of the residents in the town of Malta. I don't know what that means and what the empirical data is, but maybe that's true, but maybe it's not. But by imposing the moratorium will definitely infringe upon, negatively impact upon private property rights and deny my right as a private landowner to lawfully use the state and local zoning laws. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, now I'm going to wait a second. Anybody else? Okay.
I have a question. What type of, Chris, the property you're referring to, is this a residential home? Okay, thank you.
Next is comments from town board members and department heads, and I do have a couple of announcements. First, the stormwater management officer has asked me to announce that the town's municipal separate storm sewer systems annual report, MS4 for short, is available on our website. If the public has any questions about it, please email stormwater@malta-town.org. We have 2 more workshops scheduled to work on the rezoning project. They are March 10th at 4 o'clock and March 24th at 4 o'clock. All of these meetings will be streamed, so you'll have access to them if you don't come. Julia, our comptroller, and Julia Smith and Melissa Briggs, my confidential secretary, and I are working on a presentation for our March 31st meeting. We've been asked questions from a lot of town board members and members of the public to kind of explain where our revenue streams come from and about, what funds we have and mitigation money. So if you will, we're going to put together a Funding 101 class to briefly explain some of that and hopefully get some information out there from the questions we've gotten. Just wanted to share this about a town employee. We had a nice little review of one of the clerks in our assessor's office, and it was from a resident that said that Krista has always been extremely helpful. It's a pleasure to deal with her. She always greets you with a smile and makes you feel very comfortable. So if you see Krista, tell her nice job if you're in the assessor's office. Well, that's just for my town board. I sent an email earlier this week requesting that we regard the charge. We have a bulk drop-off every year, so residents can bring their whatever they want to dispose of, and we have dumpsters out there. Last year, we found that we were being charged $30 per mattress. We had about 145 mattresses, so it was well above, not well above, it was above budget for what we planned on. This year, we've been informed that it's going to be $50 per mattress. We did, in the budget that we adopted, we did add that additional charge, so we really should be okay budget-wise, but just wanted to get an opinion from our staff, or our town board. The charges basically are, we cannot accept mattresses. We can charge $50 for mattresses. We can charge less for the mattresses, $20, I thought, or absorb the amount.
Can we pick a different vendor who's not going to charge us that much?
No, there aren't too many. So, yeah, they're all gonna charge for mattresses, so.
You're
no.
shaking your head.
We went out to bid. Right. So, I frankly am, I would absorb the cost. We have the budget, unless somebody doubles the, number of mattresses we get. It's a service that we provide to our residents, and in the past, when we did the bulk pickup, it was at least 3 or 4 times the cost of what we're doing with the drop-off. But what say ye?
I think she was talking to you.
I'm talking to all you.
We not
Oh, all the usual stuff with, tires, refrigerators, all of those sorts of things. So,
I think as long as we're talking about it right now and, let's see what happens. Let's pay the price. If it gets to be astronomical for next year, then we'll have to readjust. But as long as we're conscious of it right now and we're looking at it, I think it's a great benefit to the town to be dropping off instead of putting out rubbish on the side of your lawn and having everyone pick through it and sit there and,
maybe everybody got rid of their mattresses last year.
and if you give them,
Hopefully they got rid of them all.
I would just like to add, I'm a member of the Friends of the Cateros, and every year they do a spring cleanup. And it's sad to say that in the communities, the Cateros, as you know, goes beyond our town. They pull out mattresses, box springs, tires. The fact is, for many people, that's a significant expense to dispose of items. And if their only option, if they're moving, is to dump it somewhere where they hope they won't get caught, that's not a good option. And I'm hoping that we can find a reasonable way to continue to provide an acceptable way of getting rid of things like mattresses and tires, rather than have people throw them along the road or in a stream. That's my opinion.
All good? You agree?
I favor getting, accepting them in the future. Because of that cost, there are other things that we don't accept also, so I would just throw them in there too. Instead of creating a lot of questions about it.
I'm going to agree with Al. Accept the mattresses. I always want to accept the mattresses. It's a pain to try to get rid of a mattress. This year we'll cover it. We'll assess after this year, see how much it did cost us. Even if next year we have to charge $50 or whatever that cost may be, I would still bring my mattress here because just the inconvenience of trying to get rid of a mattress.
Right, just wanted a consensus before we put out the flyer, so.
if you're thinking about it, bring the mattress. Buy early.
Anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Discuss before we move into our business? All right, we'll move into tonight's action items. The first is to set a public hearing to refer the moratorium legislation so set a public hearing and refer the moratorium legislation to the Saratoga County Planning Board. One change that, why you have a printed copy next to you is it was brought to our attention by our planning staff that while we exclude residential, normal residential things, we may have an unintended consequence of excluding some commercial building permits and fit-ups. The example they used is if a tenant comes along and wants to rent a vacant space, say in Ellsworth, and they need to do some renovations to make that so, we certainly don't want to turn them away. So Steve wrote, just modified number 11 in section 4, 4C, number 11. The legislation that went out to the public reads differently than this. It now says that any amendments to or building permits and other authorizations issued pursuant to approved subdivisions, plan development districts, site plans, form-based code approvals, any extension requests of the foregoing, so that if there's approved existing building, that could go forward. I do want to just caution my colleagues that this came up at the end. We already had the legislation written, and one of the things that concerns me about this moratorium, just in general, are that there may be other unintended consequences that we can't foresee. So just a little,
What was his name? I'm sorry, sir.
Chris.
Chris, how you doing? We held one workshop already, and we're holding 2 more this month, and we got a lot done. I mean, do I really see it going 6 months? No. Heck, if we get it all done before the end of the month, there might not be one.
That's my goal.
So it is a tool, a mechanism that we're going to use to get our house in order, and that's the purpose of it. It's not to be punishing people or stealing anyone's liberty. Is to get our house in order for all the ill, decisions way in the past. The same thing we're going to do with the pay and salaries and this thing. There's certain things are eventually have to get straightened out, and that's all there is to it. And again, there's no way in heck we're going to be a ghost town with Clifton Park, Albany South, Saratoga North, and Boston Spa. We're the only little hamlet left that's kind of, got some, looks like it's got some homegrown roots in it, So
So before we have any further discussion, I'd like to have a motion and a second, and then we can discuss.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? No? Okay. With that, I will,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Moving on, the next item is to set a public hearing and refer a local law amending the form-based code to Saratoga County Planning Board. What this one is about is, we have local law number 9 of 2017, that allows a density bonus for multifamily projects. And it was brought to our attention that this law may be, or likely is, in violation of the Fair Housing Act. So to make sure that we conform with federal law, we are proposing to rescind that local law.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next, we've been working on this all year. We have a new agreement with the Malta Athletic Association. It's been made public, and, a lot of people have seen it, and we've done a lot of work on it. So I think, hopefully, this board is prepared to approve that. I don't know if we've heard from the MAA. Last I knew, there were just tweaks that we were changing, but first, we'll give a motion in a second, and then
So move.
Second.
discussion. Looks like Steve's got his hand ready on the button. Yeah.
I did talk to the MAA today. They support the draft. I do know, I believe you spoke to Gary Priest earlier.
Yeah, I spoke to Gary a few days ago. He didn't indicate that there were any objections. And so we went through it all, and I think we have a approved agreement, and that's why we kept it on the agenda.
Just for the record, this is a one-year agreement, and, so we'll see how it works out. Kind of changes their reporting, it changes, what happens with the rental fees that they get. It takes back in-house the rental of the fields at the Malta Community Park on Dunning, or on Plains Road.
And also, due to my long history with Boston Spa Soccer Club and the MAA, I am going to abstain from this vote.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And no, Councilman McLaughlin abstains. Next is to approve additional services with Catalyst about billing, being able to take online payments for our water system. It was the single biggest thing that people asked for when we took over the water system. So we're hopefully going to make that happen.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
What was the cost of that
I don't-
service?
It doesn't cost us anything. Oh, 300 per year.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, well worth it. And then any finance charges will be borne by the water user, not us. So. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is a proposal you should have all gotten them, because we took over the management of the other parks, we needed new applications to rent those fields. It does call for their hourly rates, and those hourly rates are Shenandoah Creek Park is $45 an hour, the Shenandoah Disc Golf is $45 an hour, and the Malta Community Park Field is $45 an hour. We didn't have forms because we didn't do it, so now we're looking to rent stuff and need new forms.
Is that,
Wait, let motion a second first.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
So when they're having a tournament, is that we're collecting $45 per person
No, per hour,
per hour from the organization?
yes.
You're getting a good deal. I just thought I heard it's costs in, say, 3 hours, 3 times 45. Am I wrong on that? Am I doing this wrong?
No,
That's it, right? You're making out.
Hey, Jeff, the other courses that you manage, what do the towns and the cities charge an hour?
They don't charge an hourly rate. I usually rent the pavilion and the park, the golf course kind of comes with it. It's just like Shenandoah Creek, most of the pretty much all the disc golf courses that are on public park property, you kind of use the underutilized areas of the park. This course so happens to use one area, one of the holes ends up crossing over that soccer, rugby, now cricket field. If I'd have known how much it would have gotten used all of a sudden like that, I'd come here prior when I was first designing this course, and that field rarely got used. It got used for rugby off season. There was some cross kids that showed up there or something. It really didn't get used for much more than that. So when I was designing the course, I kind of figured that we could make do and we could play well with others when were there. Cricket people showed up this past year and took over the place for 8 hours a day, Saturday and Sunday. I also was using the wrong set of maps for the actual borders of the park, which did not let me know that there's actually an additional 2 acres around that field that I could have designed around the field. That's still a possibility. To redesign a few holes on the course will actually make the course longer and more difficult, which is a good thing. And the only downside to that would be the walk between 18th basket and 1's tee would be longer.
Yeah.
End up with 18th basket on the far end of that side. You have to walk the walking path, which is fine, all the way down to the other end to the
Yeah.
parking lot, which is where T1 is at.
So Jeff, I think we've talked with the Parks and Rec that, we're willing to try to make those accommodations, but I don't really think that discussion is relevant to the matter before us. So we will work on that. Any further discussion on the approving of the applications? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is to designate on-call positions per section 408 vehicle usage of the Town of Malta Employee Handbook. This is just basically naming the on-call positions. We have highway superintendent, facilities manager, working supervisors, water superintendent, water assistant superintendent, director of parks and rec, code enforcement officers, and town justices that we will identify as on-call employees. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second, okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes. Opposed.
Okay, noted. The last are really a couple of housekeeping items. The next two, I guess. One is to authorize the town clerk and deputy town clerk to attend the annual town clerks conference,
Where's that at?
Aruba.
Where? I'm going with you.
It's in Syracuse. She wishes it was Aruba.
Someone said I should have brought a Speedo today, but I don't need them now. Go to Syracuse.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is to authorize our assistant water superintendent to attend a certification course. We want to upgrade his licensing.
So moved.
Second. Where's that one at?
That one is in Cortland. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have a request to appoint a new member to the Historic Preservation Review Commission, Alex Friedman. That was requested by the president of the HPRC.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our last action item for tonight is we received a grievance from one of our union highway employees, and the highway superintendent denied the grievance. It was referred to the town board for appeal, and the town board has investigated the grievance and completed its review, and we have determined that the highway superintendent's decision is affirmed. So I have accept a motion to accept that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have two items to discuss this evening. One of them is, you all had the little spreadsheet that I put out. Basically, what I did was I took from this study that the town of Malta paid for, 2023 maybe, and they basically evaluated all of our buildings and made a determination about when they think capital improvements should be done. What you have is just the 2025, 2026 improvements before you. It goes out a number of years. I was originally going to recommend that we replace the windows in the court and the roof on this building, but our facilities superintendent is recommending that we replace all the windows in the court and the roof in the court. As you know, we're building a new court, but we plan to repurpose that building. And then for next year, we will budget for the roof on this building and possibly the windows.
I'm not putting you on the spot, Cynthia, but just to re-educate me, say everything's a go, no big hiccups. When do you think the courthouse would be like groundbreaking, opening the doors?
Likely, it won't be built until 2026.
2026. Occupied by 2027?
Well, yeah, probably. Might be occupied in 2026, depending on how.
I see you leaning to the right. Is that right, Julie, or no?
We've got to get them to agree to a design. Which I think is getting close, so.
Getting very close.
I'm out of that fight.
Any opinions? You okay with that? Well, the process will be, we'll have to go out for bids. We'll have to have requests for proposals. So I'm just trying to get the if you agree, we'll take that step and see what the proposals are.
I would like to start with the old courthouse, get that done, move on to a second one. The problem is these roofs were done at the same time, so they're all coming due about the same time, and it's a huge hardship, there's no question. I would like to see us set a fund up on the side that we put into every year, keep the interest on it compounded, and use that going forward. We gotta have a plan. If we
No, I agree.
don't have a firm plan that we're constantly funding year to year.
I agree. Some of the building maintenance in all of our facilities have been ignored for a number of years, so I think we need to have a clear path forward. If you agree to start with the court, then, we'll direct our, facilities manager to request proposals, and we'll see where we're at.
Are we gonna be keeping that building?
Yes. Yes. If there's no further discussion on that, the last item on our agenda is, by way of a little bit of explanation, Northwood Water Company is a small private water company that services about 400 residential customers in Malta. The company has been seeing increased levels of contaminants in the water. The water is well water, so it comes from a well. So over the course of the last 2 years, they've been seeing increasing levels of contaminants, and they're actively seeking a solution to replace their water source. For now, just so nobody's overly alarmed, the water is still within compliance with the Department of Health regulations. Northwood recently has entered into a contract with the Clifton Park Water Authority to replace their water source and buy water from the Clifton Park Water Authority. Technically, this plan doesn't really require any action by the Malta Town Board. It's an agreement between the Clifton Park Water Authority and a private water company. The Clifton Park Town Board, however, needs to act and approve this. We have been asked by the Clifton Park Town Board, Town Supervisor specifically, that we affirm that we have no objection to the plan for Clifton Park Water Authority to supply water to Northwood. One of the things to consider about this is this particular option is the most expedient. It gets safe drinking water to those 400 homes faster than any other solution that was investigated along the way. It also is the most cost-effective for those companies. As you know, private water companies' rates are set by the Public Service Commission, and the costs of the improvements can be directly placed on the water user. So this is, like I say, will be the least costly for those residents.
Do we have any kind of estimate what those 400 people will be paying for infrastructure or above and beyond their water utilization? Is
I
it
don't know.
$300 or $3,000?
I don't think you
have
can
no
know until
idea?
the system is sent to the, they already pay more than our Saratoga Water Services people, so
Can I ask how that's getting funded?
that it's a private, that's a private water company is building it. It's no cost to the town of Malta.
To the town. How about to the
Town.
residents of the 400 that are getting that water?
It-
It's
it-
going to be, I just want to be clear
Yeah.
that there's going to be 400 people going to be paying more for water. So it's out there. It's not like, kind of like, oops, didn't tell anybody. But we don't know, but we need to probably get,
Yeah.
obviously Clifton Park Water Authority, it's got it's got some kind of estimate. It is to lay some pipe down to these people. And then what kind of costs they're going to infer on the civilians that live there.
Yeah, we have Chris Wheeland, who is the executive director of the Clifton Park Water Authority, who might be able to give us more information on that.
I can answer some of your questions just about the water. There were a couple options that were looked at as Supervisor went over. There's contaminant in the water now. Northwood was looking at buying directly from Saratoga County Water Authority. Saratoga County Water Authority sells only to municipalities, not to private water companies. So that was not an option for Northwood Water. So they came to us. So we buy it from Saratoga County, right on East Line Road in 67. From that, we extend the pipe across the road, put in a meter pit, and that'll go north of 67 and tie back into Northwood. The cost is purely on the developer to do the installation. We take ownership once it's installed. We buy it from Saratoga County for $2.50-something cents per thousand. We would then sell it to Northwood Water for a little bit of a profit on top of that to operate and maintain, also for maintenance of the building, pumps, electricity, chemicals, that sort of thing that we have to put into it to make sure that it's fully feasible and drinkable to get through there. And then that would go up into Northwood Water. How Northwood Water runs their system would be on how Northwood Water runs their system.
We don't, I'm Wayne Simon Scott, Northwood Water. We don't believe there'll be an increase at all if we can go this route, connect to Clifton Park to our users.
Say that again?
We don't believe there'll be an increase to our users
Okay.
if we can go this way.
It's a big savings from the other plan for Northwood Water, so they wouldn't have to pass that on.
I get nervous when I hear that word believe. So I believe it's not going to cost more.
So I got
Okay.
a question for
May-
Clifton.
May I say something? Full disclosure, I live in this area, and my family drinks this water. I would like to know if there is any reason that we can't, let me back up. It is my understanding that there is technically no action required by this board. It has been a supervisor from the adjoining town and county supervisor who is asking us, I think probably as a bit of a courtesy, that they are entering into this agreement, this is my understanding, and that he doesn't want to do this without the town of Malta being fully aware that this is happening. And thus, would it be correct to say he is asking us to say, yes, it's fine with us, but we don't really have any authority over this project? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so again, as somebody who drinks this water, is there a reason we can't take action tonight to do whatever we can to make this transition to a safer water source happen as quickly as possible?
I mean, technically, we don't have to take action. It's if this board agrees that this is a course of action we want to see move forward, basically, our town attorney will then write some correspondence to the supervisor of the town of Clifton Park to say that the town of Malta has no objection.
Is there any impact on, by doing this, is it going to expand development? Because I fully support taking care of the problem that is over there. But I want to know if there's any possible hookups that's going to create more development in town in the near future.
So my larger goal, big picture, short answer is every project that goes on would have to be approved in the town of Malta. Any further expansion would have to go through the planning, the zoning process. However the moratorium works out, it would have to go through that process to be approved. Okay, so it's not a clear, we're going through with pipe. My bigger picture for Malta and for Clifton Park, it's always been a capacity concern. Saratoga County has it. I need the pipes to get it. The one way for me to get it is I have one single line that goes up to the hospital. If anywhere between that hospital and Round Lake Road breaks, the hospital doesn't have water. To me, that's a red flag. Only way to get redundancy into the system is put a secondary line across 67 to tie into it. Potentially could bring development, but again, that would have to come back to Malta, and each development along the way would have to go through the process of approval. And if it doesn't get approved, the pipe doesn't go through.
Well, for me, I would like to see Barbara and all her neighbors drink the most cleanest water possible. I'm all for getting water up there. I just want to be a little devil's advocate and talk about it because being transparent to everybody, that to believe that it won't cost more is a belief. It's not a fact. So that's why, sometimes I ask the obvious question is, so then when people come back and says, oh, we didn't, I didn't know about it and I didn't know I was buying into it, And now that we don't have to buy into it per se, I'm all in favor of clean water. I just want to make sure the residents know that things are changing.
Northwood Water is responsible right now for 400 residents, roughly?
I'm sorry?
Yes, that's what they
400
provide.
residents?
But you have
Is
about
there
400
any
water
other,
customers.
is there any
It's more
other,
residents than that's customers.
are there any other agreements between Northwood and any other entity that will benefit from this happening?
This extension, not really extension, this solution does allow that water will be provided to a fully approved, fully zoning compliant project on that corner. It's a mixed-use project that's on the corner of it's on the northeast corner of 67 and,
That's the Stein project.
yes. That project was approved with the will serve letter from Northwood Water, but then when their water started showing stress, it can't sell
So
bad
when the
water.
Stein project goes in, will that then hinder the capacity of serving the current customers of Malta?
Mr. Wheeland?
No, we've designed it, it's been designed both ways, with Stein being a customer and with them not being a customer. There is plenty of capacity to feed all of the Northwood customers currently and whatever the Stein project being constructed also. There's also capacity, as I mentioned, getting the line across 67. Those projects, again, I want to reiterate, would have to be approved as things move forward. But there's also capacity for that to occur, which gets redundancy to the hospital.
And so were you installing pipe that's big enough to supply the hospital also?
Yes. Yep, it'll be oversized right now, with the anticipation of how things move forward. If they move forward, there would be capacity to do that.
Does Northwood Water plan on growing it all from its size now?
Yeah, we plan on serving Stein, and the future, whatever development may happen, we would expand it if need be.
Other houses up in there will be served. Thank you.
Plans at this minute. Part of the reason, my answer about the cost, Stein is going to split the cost of coming across 67 for the serving his property, so that takes it directly away from our customers as well.
And you get additional customers in the deal.
Additional customers.
What came first, the chicken or the egg? The bad water or the Stein project?
The Stein project probably, right?
Yeah, I'm born at night, not last night.
That's not exactly,
I'm asking.
well, I've learned a lot about PFOAs in the last year, and
We all have it.
Pretty much do.
the federal government has lowered the allowable count in public water. Rules have changed. What may have been acceptable a year ago even is not acceptable now. I believe that New York State, if it hasn't already, it will formally comply with federal standards. Right now, technically, maybe the water meets the standard, but it won't soon. And the federal and state governments are working on timeframes by which private suppliers or communities who don't meet the health standard have to comply. Again, I want to be perfectly clear. I am not unbiased in this. I drink this water. My neighbors drink this water. I would like to see this happen as soon as possible. We have families with young children, pregnant women. We now know when you think about things like what happened in Hoosick Falls, I believe. PFOAs are not good. Unfortunately, they are everywhere. As one water operator explained to me, if you wash your carpeting and then you take the bucket and you flush it down the toilet and you have a septic tank, or you throw it out in your backyard, you've just added PFOAs to the water table in your yard. They are everywhere. It's a national problem, and it's a serious problem. We have an opportunity tonight to try to make 400 of our neighbors get on a path as quickly as possible to having better, healthier, safer water. And I implore you to do what we need to do tonight to move that forward.
I don't think no one's disagreeing with you, Barb, but I think we're all in. It's a go. You're done.
Okay, we can direct our.
It's a health issue, you have to solve it. There's no question about it. And
Okay,
so if we have to sign for it, we will sign for it.
well, let the supervisor of Clifton Park know. So, thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that concludes our business. Is there anybody else out there that would like to offer up public comment? No?
No,
I'll
but
tell you one thing I've learned in this past year. It's not easy being in the water business. Yeah, Murray.
I'm very sensitive too to if there's contaminants in the water up for Northwood.
Speak up,
everyone should have clean
into
water.
it.
Yeah, okay. So we hear that there's contaminants, PFOAs in the water at Northwood. Can you elaborate on how those wells and that system will be isolated from the rest of Clifton Park water? So the PFOAs don't enter other customers?
He wants to know how it's isolated.
We're going to disconnect the pipe that comes out of the pump station with supply. We'll put a hydrant there at that point, and we'll be connected to Clifton Park, so the old well field, pump house, all that will be completely disconnected from the system.
Okay, physically isolated.
That was also a concern of my board, and we took care of that with an engineering study on our board.
Thank you.
Thanks, Murray. Thank you. Anybody else? Nope, Jeff's back.
If I was to rent the pavilion, would you waive the field fees?
It would be the same price. They're both, the field is $45 and the pavilion's $45 an hour.
I have the pavilion's a set rate now.
Oh, I'm
4 hour
sorry.
4-hour block.
Oh, that's right. I didn't have. the
And I'd rent it
pavilion's
for
on
all
here.
8 hours just to cover my ass. Otherwise, we'd set up a tent in the field by the practice basket.
I mean, one thing is if you're gonna rent the field, I mean, there's nothing, there's
I would like
There's
to,
nothing to stop other people from, it's like if I decide I want to go play in the middle of your tournament,
There is nothing that, we deal with that. However, we deal with that. We deal with that on every other public course
Yeah.
that we play, I run tournaments on. I run
So
tournaments.
what you're saying is that you're not preventing any other players that walk in?
Casual
wanna
player.
play?
I don't have that. I don't have that authority. I can't rent the entire the entire park, which is where the course is at. I'm renting the field from you guys, which means I'm really only effectively reserving hole 18 out of the whole course.
Wait,
Nobody can go out there and play a pickup soccer game or a rugby game. I've got it rented. The rest of the course is strung out.
let's get clarification. If he rents out the course, does he have exclusive rights to hole 3 and the public not?
I would say yes.
Yeah, you got it. You got the course. You get a little badge, I'm here for the tournament. If you're not, go. I mean, I'm not in favor of quid pro quo. If you're gonna rent the field, then you get this. That ain't gonna happen. For nobody.
No, but I
It's worth asking. I get it. You could ask.
yeah. Let's say I have a birthday
I'm under
party.
the belief that if they're renting the tournament,
Disc golf course, yes.
The golf
disc course,
tournament.
because yes, it's written that way in the usage of the.
Yeah,
what you call
me
the
and my
agreement.
buddies are not gonna roll in and just kinda like, cut the line and start shooting, right? They got the course, right?
No,
Yeah, you're gonna have it. So the public will not be infringing upon you. Now, where the muscle is gonna come from, I don't know. That'd be, Kristen's
I
gonna
mean,
deal with that.
there'll still be people walking across hole 5 playing pickleball, because pickleball is
Well,
just.
we're not gonna put a fence up either,
I mean, disc golf created kind of a monster, but you guys making pickleball courts over there created.
I think we're looking at problems, let's have it. And then we'll make it better every year, I'm all in favor of you exclusively having the course for that Saturday, to run a tournament, to make it enjoyable, and to make it bigger the next year. That's the goal.
Right.
It's not to, have the public go tramping on your,
Bring the local businesses into this
know.
too, because they're already supporting me too. I've already got that support, so.
I think it's-
Financially, I can take care of that, but this just this doubles my expenses, basically, for a normal tournament kind of thing,
And what,
Then every other-
what's the cost for a normal tournament?
What's that?
What's your normal cost?
My normal cost for just $25 to rent a pavilion.
Okay, well,
Insurance is $150. Basically, insurance and sanctioning is $150 for it. That's for every tournament, but that's just to cover, any injuries that happens on there, even though.
For the town board, it's $135 for 3 hours. He has 72 people at $60 a person. That's $4,200. I don't see the unfairness of the rental. And because under the agreement, if he completes it and provides the insurance and all that, he's going to have the ability to control. No one else is going to be playing on his course.
I think he's getting a great deal. I think I said that before.
So, and he's got the exclusive rights to use the park for the time in which he reserves.
I agree.
Just
But he
be-
wants, but if you're asking for the pavilion fee now too, that's a non-starter.
Hey, you gotta ask.
And I would also say for the board, at some point, we really have to evaluate this because we don't let businesses use other facilities to make profit on to give back to the people in that
yeah,
organization.
that's what I'm
So I
saying.
do have some concerns about that. So, just so we're going forward, when we expand it, just not here, is the purpose of this is for you guys to approve the rental process. You're taking over the Malta Community Park and you're taking over Shenantaha. There's been problems at Shenantaha. We're trying to avoid those problems by having a clear and consistent policy, which you approved at tonight's meeting. So that may need to change depending upon usage of the parks going forward.
Yeah.
There's a unique situation. There's a great facility created by, a volunteer group to build a great course there. And this is going to let them use it, provided they complete the application. The second piece of it is, just so the board knows, if there's more than 200 users, you have to get a special use permit, and there's a different process and different fees. He's well under that. But, for other people, they may want to rent field space and other space, and we're trying to create a system that treats everybody fairly, not to say, well, this one doesn't have to pay and this one does. Thank you.
Understandable. Just to be clear, the entry fees that you speak of and you add up as such do not go into anybody's pockets. I'm running a tournament on behalf of a non-for-profit. All the money that goes into those tournaments goes back out to the what do you call it, to the players in one form or fashion.
See,
Giving away
that's
prize
good-
money
that's
to
good to know.
professional players, correct?
What's this?
You're giving away prize money to professional players?
Yes.
Okay.
One thing someone in the peanut gallery, thank you, Jeff, pointed out to me is that when we talked about the two public hearings, I didn't announce the dates. So the public hearing for the moratorium is on March 31st at 6 PM, and rescinding local law number 9 from 2017 is at 6:05, or whenever following the first public hearing. So those are both on March 31st.
It's both on March 31st?
Both on March 31st, yes.
At 6 o'clock, both of them are?
Well, yeah,
One after another.
right. Anybody else, any comments out there? Well, thanks so much for everybody coming out tonight. I will entertain a motion to,
I have one.
oh, yes, Barbara.
Or again, I wish to say again, I am not unbiased in the comments I'm about to make about the water. I appreciate Councilman Ricky's concerns about money, the cost to consumers. And thinking about those things, I don't know what resources might be available that we might reach out to some of our other elected officials at the state, like Carrie Werner, to the State Health Department. Perhaps some of our staff from the Planning Department have suggestions as to where we might look for resources to offset the cost of replacing the water source for 400 of our neighbors' homes. Whether there are federal or state grants that may become available as these laws change. I hope anyone who has any skill or connection to those things will keep an eye open, and maybe we can reach out. Maybe Supervisor Young, you have ideas of agencies or resources we could reach out to make this less painful for the customers who have done nothing wrong. And what has happened is testing has changed and rules and regulations have changed. And that's what's moving this along. So that's my request.
And thanks, Barbara. Anybody else before we adjourn? Motion to adjourn? Oh, wait.
Sorry about that. Little interest. Did they give a time frame when this was going to happen?
I did not hear that, and I don't know.
Did they say a time frame when this was going to?
I'll
A
find.
time frame?
Yeah.
When are we going to start?
When are they
I'll,
going to start?
I'll find that out tomorrow for you.
I'm just
and let you
curious.
know.
I'm just asking questions that the public probably is interested in, and 400 residents probably want to know, and then whoever's got to cross 67, got to get a detour.
Okay, now, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, everybody.